Welcome back to Take Part World, where Take Part Live's mission of sharing knowledge and transforming it into social action goes on the road. With support from the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, we're sharing stories from the front lines of justice with the Bangladesh textile industry. In 2013, the 8-story factory building Rana Plaza collapsed in Greater Dhaka, killing over 1,000 workers and injuring over 2,000. It is considered the deadliest factory accident in history. And just a year before that, the Tazreen factory fire killed over 100 Bangladeshi workers and injured 200 more. In the aftermath, promises were made by local government and major fashion companies here in the United States to create safer working conditions, and we know now they just haven't been kept. According to an independent investigation coordinated by the Accord for Fire and Building Safety in Bangladesh, a legally binding agreement by international retailers to improve factory conditions, over 80,000 safety issues were found. 80,000 in local Bangladeshi factories since the accident. This is just unacceptable. Here to talk to us about the day-to-day lives of textile workers and how we can demand and enact change is Sarah Newell, Coordinating Committee Representative for United Students Against Sweatshops. Give it up for her. Welcome to Take Part Live.
Welcome.
Thank you so much for being here.
All right, Sarah, so in a statement released on Tuesday, the Accord's Chief Safety Inspector, Brad Lowen, said, "We found safety hazards in all factories." Over 1,100 factories were inspected 3 different times. A lot of lives were lost here. Not a lot's been done. What's the mechanism for getting this done, and is there hope for the future?
Well, I think the question of speed really comes back to the question of responsibility, and it's who is responsible to be making the changes in these factories. When it's not happening quickly enough, who do we look to? And the answer to that is the brands that are producing in the factories, because it's the brands that have created the conditions necessary for these sweatshops to exist in the first place. They pit factories against each other, saying who can produce the cheapest, who can produce the fastest, and investing in making safer factories isn't something that reduces costs. So until the brands are willing and ready to step up, put the money and the international pressure to improve these factories, it's going to be slow. But I would push back a little on the idea that no progress has been made, because the Accord has managed to close 17 factories that were declared critically unsafe, as in they could be the next Rana Plaza. And that's been, a huge impact that they've had in the last 2 years.
What's the incentive of the governments to improve the factory conditions there? How does it affect the health and development of the nations?
I think that, from an economic standpoint, having safer factories and better working conditions will, of course, encourage more investment. And generally, for a nation to be considered more developed, you can't be having sweatshops and, factory collapses bringing huge international attention all the time. But really, for me at least, it comes down to more of the idea that these are human lives. Beyond the economic development and the impact on a nation, it's really easy to forget, because they are worlds away, that these are people. And these are people just like you and I. The garment industry is 85% of Bangladesh's GDP, so this is the primary occupation for so many people in that country, and they just want to go to work every day and to be able to come home safely to their families.
What is the role that American consumers play in this process, from your point of view?
I think that American consumers have definitely been conditioned to expect fast and cheap clothing, and to expect to be able to walk into a store and buy a shirt for $1.50, and that's a problem. But again, it's the brands that have conditioned consumers to feel this way. So when brands stop cheating these workers out of the wages that they are entitled to in a way that allows consumers to buy clothes this way, consumers will begin to understand that if you're buying a T-shirt for $1.50, what are the workers really making?
I'm sorry, go ahead.
Ask real quick. Yeah. So I get you and I'm following you. When you get rid of the $1.50 T-shirt, what happens to the low income in America who can't buy $1.50 T-shirts anymore? Isn't that part of the issue as well?
Well, first thing, in order to make just basic safety updates, it actually isn't going to increase the price of clothes too much. So a study done in Bangladesh said if they brought every single factory up to code, it would, on average, and this is if none of the brands took on any of the cost, if it was 100% passed on to the consumer, it would only cause the price of each garment to raise by 10 cents. So these are minimal impacts we're talking about at best.
What do your classmates say when you talk to them about this? Is this something that, your fellow students at USC understand and are actually interested in?
On some level, students are. I think it takes a little bit of getting there. When I say Bangladesh, when I say, I work a lot with the Bangladeshi garment industry, you get weird looks at parties. But, when you show some of the photojournalism done after Rana Plaza, or we brought Bangladeshi garment workers to speak at USC last year, it really brings it home that these are folks our age. These are folks starting in the industry at 12 years old, and they deserve everything that we deserve.